Okay, another way we can find slope is if given a table. I can find slope if given a table. Now, all I need to remember is that slope is rise over run, which is a change in y over a change in x. And I said before that we would use the little symbol delta to represent change in, and we're going to find a change in y, we're going to find a change in x, and then we're going to take the ratio of those changes. So here's all I really have to do to find the slope between points, the slope of a line given a table. So I'm going to see, I'm going to look right here. I'm going to go from this x value to this x value. What did I have to do to go from a -2 to a -1? Did I have to increase or decrease? Did I have to add or subtract? To go from -2 to a -1, that might be a little bit harder to see. And going from a -1 to a 0 might be also. But looks pretty simple right here. Going from a 0 to a 1, we would have to add 1. So I'm going to add 1. And really, to go from a -2 to a -1, that's also adding 1. And going from -1 to 0, that's also adding 1. So we got something pretty consistent here. Let's see what happens here. To go from a -3 to a -1, that's obviously an increase, okay, because -3 is lower than -1. If you were 3 feet underground and then you were 1 foot underground, you went up. And you went up 2. So that's a +2. Same thing, going from a -1 to a +1. You would have to add 2. Okay, now I'm doing more of these than I have to, because really all I have to get is what's the rate of change between 2 points. Okay, now what I'm calculating here, all these numbers I'm calculating, okay, these are x's. These right here are the change in x. In other words, all that I've got over here, these are all my delta x's. Delta x is 1. Over here, what this is all my delta y. So if I just remember that rate of change or slope, whatever we'll call it, they're all the same thing, is just delta y divided by delta x. I can remember that, then I just plug those numbers in. I've got delta y is a 2. I've got delta y is a 1. Or I'm sorry, delta x is 1. Delta y is 2. Delta x is 1. 2 divided by 1 is my rate of change. To get that totally simplified, I can just say that's 2. So the slope here, the rate of change, the delta y over delta x, is 2. Pretty simple. Let's see another one. And I'm just going to pick between these 2 points right here. To go from 0 to 4, I had to add 4. Okay, this is my delta x. Now, I have to use the same corresponding y points over here. So going from 4 to 2. That's a change of 2, but it decreased by 2. Instead of adding 2 to 4, we had to subtract. Now, we always have to go in the same direction. Since I'm going down this way, I've got to go down this way, down the table. So 4, to go from 4 to a 2, we had to subtract 2. So my delta y is -2. So change in y just means delta y. So change in y is -2. So I'm going to put that here. That's a -2. My change in x is a 4. Okay, so my slope is down 2 over 4. But that can be simplified. And it's a negative over a positive, so I know it's negative. 2, both of these, 2 goes into 2, 2 goes into 4. 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 4 twice. So my slope, my change in y over change in x, my rate of change is negative half. Negative half. You're going down 1 for every 2 you go to the right with x. Okay, what about what's happening right here? I see that x is decreasing. So let's see what happens here. X is going down by 3. But what is y doing? Nothing. It's just 0. And right here, it's decreasing by 3 still decreasing by 3. And this is increasing by 0, decreasing by 0. It's not doing anything. So my slope, so here's my delta x. Here's my delta y. So slope is delta y over delta x. And that just equals 0 over a negative 3. And 0 divided by negative 3 just equals 0. So this has a slope of 0. I'm going to do one more. That's increasing by 2. That's increasing by 6. Well, let's look at this one. Now all of a sudden my delta x is 0. It's never increasing, it's never decreasing. It's always just 0. Okay? X is not changing, it's just 3. Now, this should tell you something right here. X's are repeating. If x is repeating the table, we know that that's not a function. That's one thing we should know. Well, let's see what's happening here with our y values. To go to 6 from 4, that's a decrease. So I'm going to take away, and I would have to take 2 away from 6 to get 4. And to go from 4 to 2, I'd have to take away 2. To go from 2 to 0, I'd have to take away 2. And that's enough. My slope is delta, this is my delta y right here. This is delta y. This is delta x. My slope is delta y over delta x. And that equals a negative 2 over 0. Oh boy, negative 2 divided by 0. That should be raising like alarms in your head. You can't divide by 0. Let's just think if you had 2 divided by 0. How could you divide 2 up to where there was no pieces left? You couldn't. You couldn't divide it into 0 equal anything. So this right here, we'll call that anytime you're dividing by 0, that's a problem. That's going to be undefined. And I'm just going to put UND to represent undefined. That's all I have for now for that. So to get slope from a table, look for your change in your x, and it's either going to be increasing or decreasing. Look what you have to add or subtract to go from one to the next. Do the same thing on the other side with the y's, and then your slope is whatever numbers you have here over the numbers over here. It's your delta y over your delta x, and then simplify it. And remember, anytime you get a 0 on top of the fraction, the slope is 0. Anytime you get a 0 on the bottom of a fraction, it's undefined because negative 2 over 0 means negative 2 divided by 0, and that is against the first of the 10 commandments of algebra. Thou shalt not divide by 0. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. But that's all I got for now.